Hi, this is Terry Doherty of Old Guard Publishing, back with turn 2 of our Brigade game replay of Scenario 1 of Unclaimed Victory, Fuentes de Onoro. I've already rolled initiative for the players, and the French won the initiative. They got 2 orders, the British got 0. So then the first thing up for the French is to, we note who's out of command. We have several guys out of command. As in for the Brigade game, everybody has to be within their grand tactical formations, or the leader can opt to be in his tactical role. In this case, it doesn't really matter. We've got one leader here who's all by himself. His other 2 units are on either side of him, but they're out of position, so they can't be part of his grand tactical formation. And then back here we have the other leader, let's see, it's Montfort, who is back there in reserve. And his other units are up here, so they are out of position also. This guy is still in command because he's within 2 of a unit of the Grand Tactical Formation that's in command, so he's good to go. So I also already did artillery fire, which was pretty lackluster. The rally results also were pretty lackluster. Only 1 unit rallied, which was this guy, this stack here, that rallied. These other shaken guys are still in bad shape, and it's questionable whether they should enter the village or not, but it's kind of the way things have to go, so I think we will have them enter the village. So then the British have no artillery to fire back for their artillery fire phase, so then on to movement. So the main thing was to have this guy back here in attack column, and now that the church is visible, there's no British units in the way. We can have that attack column go in here and try and hit that fortified post, which has the 6th Caçadore Battalion in there, in the fortified post in SED formation. So they are a rather formidable target there for an assault. So these guys are out of command, so their movement allowance is limited per the movement rates chart. So per the movement race chart, out of command, the infantry has a movement allowance of 4, so not a lot. But they can also do a minimum move. So we will have, let's see, stream cost +2. So he's just going to go straight forward. That's still going to leave him out of command because he has no line of sight to the directing unit in the middle there. And he can't regain his in-command status until the next turn anyway. So that's no big deal. This guy is going to remain here because if he enters this hex, he's going to undergo reaction fire from that guy. And that would not be a good thing in his shaken state. Plus he would have to take a disorder check for crossing the stream. So we don't want to risk that either in the shaken state. That's a pretty risky move to try and do that. This guy will just move forward there so he can at least project some skirmish power into the town. And the SED guys, well, we'll just have them move to there. We don't want to put them in these hexes so they'll be in the way of the artillery. Here they can at least fire at these hexes here, and this hex too, actually. And then the main thing we wanted to do for this turn was to send in this formation with a nice assault marker to hit the church. And they will undergo some reaction fire from this stack and this stack as they enter that hex. Unless we can get around through there, but we don't really want to pass through those guys. And the village is 2 movement points, so that's going to cost them exactly 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they'll have to take a disorder check, but first they're going to undergo a reaction fire from these stacks, which that'll be 4. They're in column. Oops, I guess I need to throw my skirmishers out first so we can have some a little bit of skirmish protection. Actually, the sappers are on top because they're really good close combat value modifier of 3, so they have no sappers, so we don't get that a little extra protection there. So they will undergo a reaction fire of 5, which is pretty heavy for that stack. 80. Ooh, that's bad. That's a M-15. They roll a 99, so they pass with gusto. Alright, then the Cazadores get to fire. So they have a 3 for their SED value, which is the pink value again. So that'll put them at a 4. And remember, for the battalion game, they don't need a line of sight to target units within 2 axes with their skirmish fire. 77 on a 4 is an M-10. And a 73, so the French are still good to go. So in they go. Where they've entered the village and are adjacent to their target, which is the Cazadore battalion. And they have to take a sorter check for crossing that stream there. A 94 and they pass, so they're good to go. Okay, so the British had no orders, so they couldn't have anybody in reserve status, so they're basically going to just sit there for the turn. So then we can just go straight to the assault phase for the French there. And since the Cazadores are in a fortified post and they're also a battalion-sized unit, they can either run away or they can elect to stand. And since they're in an important point, the fortified post there, they're going to elect to try and stand in the fortified post and not withdraw before combat. So that means we go to morale checks and all that good stuff. So the French have to try and pass their morale check, which they have a 20 for their sappers and a 5 there for their leader, which gives them a nice value of 15. So they're pretty good chance of passing that. And they pass. Now the defenders have to take their morale check. They get plus 10 for being in the fortified post. And they're a 29, which is actually a pretty good Cazadore battalion. Some of the Portuguese were, I think, quite better than a lot of the history gives them credit for. Especially the ones that had been under arms since the 1808 period. 58, they pass. So now we have defensive fire. So the Cazadores are going to have their 3, because they're in SED formation. Actually, let's see. There might have been some modifiers there I missed. Nope, I think that's it. Okay, good. For the morale checks is what the modifiers I was looking at. Okay, so they're 3. They pass their morale checks, so that means they get the well-directed fire bonus, plus 2. That's going to put them up on the 5. It's minus 1 because they're in the village, but plus 1 for the French being actually plus 2 since they're in attack column. So that puts them up on the 6. And they roll a 23, which is just a plain old morale check. But since it's offensive defensive fire, again the modifiers, it's minus 20, offset by the minus 5 for our man there. And they pass with a 53. Alright, now the Cazadores there get to be the subject of a fire attack from the sappers, which is going to be pretty small. They're only a firepower of 1 because they're in column. Regardless of what it says on the counter, we always start on the 1 column for units in column. So they got plus 2 for the well-directed fire, but it's going to be minus 2 because it's a fortified post and minus 2 because they're in SED, so it's going to be on the 0 column. And they rolled a 15, which is a miss. Okay, so now at this point, since we're in built-up area, we're going to go to cold steel combat. So this is one of the rare cases where you can have bayonets crossed in a village. So we add up all the combat value modifiers for each side. And then each side rolls a die. And adds their modifiers, and the high die roll wins. Die rolls over 9 cause a step loss to the opponent's stack. So here we have the Cazadores have a 1. They're +2 because they're in a fortified post. And then the French, their top unit is a 3. They're going to get +1 for the leader, +2 for the attack column, so that gives them 6. So the Cazadores are adding 3, and the French are adding 6. And then as far as odds, we have to check the odds. So we've got 6 strength points versus 4. So on the Cold Steel odds chart, so let's see where it's at. 3 to 2 odds gives +1 to the larger side. So that's going to give another +1 to the French. So the French are +7 and the Cazadores are +3. So the French roll an 8, which is going to make them a 15. And the Cazadores roll a 4, which will be a 7. So, if we look at the Cold Steel losses, the 15 is going to be 2 step losses on the Cazadores. So they're going to be eliminated. And then the French win the combat. So they will get to advance into the hex, undergo some reaction fire as they do so from all those stacks around it in SED formation. That was rather bloody, but that's why we put the sappers on top in attack column, so that they could go in there and get all those nice bonuses. Okay, and they undergo some reaction fire, which again is going to be 4. They're -1 for the village, +2 for attack column. So that will just be on the 5, which is a pretty good reaction fire attack. 53 is going to be a morale check -15. And they pass with a 72, and then another 5, which the British rolled a 0-2, so that'll be a miss. So that's it for that combat, and then the French stack is now in disorder at the end of their assault. And that's it for the first half of turn 2.